What's up, everybody? NT Certified here, and today's Saturday, and I don't have much on my plate today, so I decided, hey, let's go ahead and let's do a new video. And I had so much fun recapping the Royal Rumble last Sunday that I decided to go ahead and recap this week's Raw and this week's SmackDown. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump right on into it. Before I begin, I do want to apologize for the unshaven face if it looks unprofessional at all. But this week's Raw opened with Kevin Owens, the WWE Universal Champion who retained after defeating Roman Reigns with a little bit of help from Braun Strowman last week. And typical Kevin Owens promo of him bragging about being the champion. Of course, the amazing Chris Jericho was there. Typical promo before they were interrupted by Braun Strowman himself, who came out. Braun Strowman, who came out and requested that he be given the Universal Championship shot that he was promised by Kevin Owens. So I want to say kudos to the WWE writing team for remembering that weeks ago about Owens granting Strowman a title match if he was to retain his championship at the Royal Rumble. So the match was made because that's what they do on Raw every week. They come out, they do a promo, and they make a match for later in the night instead of advertising a match prior to, the week before and giving people a reason to tune in to Raw. But I mean, it seems like ratings are rising recently, so them moving into WrestleMania season is probably going to work out in their favor. But I just wish that they would schedule matches ahead of time instead of waiting until the night of to make matches. So the first match on this show was Sami Zayn versus Chris Jericho, with Sami Zayn coming out with the win. And WWE likes to make champions lose on television, and that's fine. I mean, that makes a challenger, I guess, viable, for a contendership spot, or makes them number one contender because they defeated the champion. And then I feel like in wrestling, anything should be able to happen in wrestling. So on any given night, somebody can lose. That includes Roman Reigns, pretty much. Yeah. But Zayn comes out with the win, and he's probably going to receive some type of title shot against Chris Jericho, probably at the upcoming pay-per-view, which I'm fine with. Zayn's an awesome character. He's great in the ring, and Chris Jericho's probably the best that he's been in a decade. So I can't complain about that match. It's going to be amazing. So the second match on the card for Monday was Cruiserweight Tony Nese versus Mustafa Ali. Now, Mustafa, just maybe 2 weeks ago, was given this, video package and introduced to the audience and everything, and scored his first win on Raw. And then this week, he loses to Tony Nese, and Tony Nese gets, all of the attention this week. And I like Tony Nese. I mean, he's been on the indies for years. Great talent, great look. He has intensity. He pretty much has it all. I think he can actually fit in with the regular roster more so than anybody else in 205. So I was happy to see Nese get the win. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Ali from here on out. But, I mean, I don't see him being a major threat to the Cruiserweight division going forward. So we had a promo with Seth Rollins, and he called out Triple H, but Stephanie came out instead, and pretty much they just went back and forth about how, Rollins doesn't want any of Triple H, and Rollins egged her on until she told him that Triple H was on his way to the arena tonight. So that kind of set the tone for the last segment of the show, which we're going to get into a little bit later. The next segment, or the next match, was a 6-person tag, which we don't really see often on Raw anymore. It was our new WWE Tag Team Champions, or Raw Tag Team Champions, the Club teaming with Charlotte, who retained over Bayley, versus Bayley and Cesaro and Sheamus, who were the former Raw Tag Team Champions. That was a lot to say. But in the end, of course, Cesaro and Sheamus and Bayley defeated the champions, the club, and Charlotte, because of course they have to get their wins back on television. And then I guess when you really have to put stakes up for some reason, the champions tend to fight harder than they do every week on Raw. I guess maybe they slip up. I don't know. But in the end, Bayley pinned Charlotte. I don't know why we should care, because Charlotte's already beaten her clean, fair and square, so she really shouldn't have another shot at the championship. But I guess her and Sasha did it multiple times, so if that's what we're going to see for the rest of the winter, then I guess that's what we're going to see for the rest of the winter, because there are no other females on the Raw roster other than Sasha and Nia Jax that can work a women's title program, and that's just the way it is. So we're going to get Bayley and Charlotte a little bit more in the future. It is what it is. We had a promo with Neville and Swan, and Swan's a really cool guy, and I wasn't going to tell anybody this, but actually I've met Rich Swann, and I've been around with Rich Swann, and he's really, really cool when he was working, independence and everything, and he's worked really hard to get where he was when he was first signed by Dragon Gate, and now he's in, the WWE, living his dream. I just wished him the best of luck on everything. He's doing a great job. Now, this feud with Neville, it's weird seeing Swan, who's the guy that smiles all the time, and then now he's angry because Neville's always taking advantage of him. It's just different to see. It's cool. I mean, I really like Neville. Neville's doing the best work that he's ever done right now. I think he's finally hit his stride, and him being heel is amazing right now. I'm glad that he's champion, and Rich Swann is the person that's chasing him for the title. I think eventually they're probably going to move on to somebody else. Hopefully it's Austin Aries, because I love to see Austin Aries and Neville hopefully at WrestleMania duke it out. That would be great. Moving on to the next match of the night, it was Kevin Owens versus Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship, I believe. I don't remember, but I know the match didn't start because Roman Reigns interfered because he was angry that he got attacked by Braun Strowman, and I'm just over Roman Reigns right now. I just wish they would either turn him heel or give us a reason to like Roman Reigns right now. I'm still upset that he entered the Rumble at number 30 when it probably should have been somebody else. But I guess we just have to accept it because they've chosen their guy. And next up, he's going to face Strowman. And if he pins Strowman fair and square at Fastlane, I'm going to be very upset. And I may not even watch Raw for a couple weeks if he pins Braun Strowman. If he's the first person to pin Braun Strowman, I'm going to be very upset. And I'm also not happy about what they may be doing with Kevin Owens, because he may not be champion too long either. But that remains to be seen. I mean, Owens has been booked horribly as a champion. He has no strong wins, anything. He's a weasel, and Chris Jericho is truly the weasel of the two. Somebody should be strong in that unit of two, and neither one of them are portrayed to be strong. They're both portrayed to be weasels. But I don't know. I can't. I just don't know what to say. Moving on to something else that I'm not happy about on Raw. Paul Heyman comes down to the ring, and he talks up Brock Lesnar about all of the people that he's beaten. He hasn't beaten Goldberg, but he wants to challenge Goldberg at WrestleMania. Okay, so at this point, why would I care about Brock Lesnar wanting to fight Goldberg a second time. If Goldberg's already beaten him, in 60 seconds, came into the Rumble and just tossed Brock out as if he didn't even matter. And now Brock wants to get serious. Why wasn't he serious in the beginning? When they had the first match at Survivor Series? Why wasn't he serious in the Rumble? Why do we want to see him? I don't want to see him get revenge because he's already been squashed. I don't. And if it's going to be for the WWE Universal Championship, that makes it even worse because the match is not going to be a 5-star classic. And it's going to be short because Goldberg can't have long matches. He hasn't had a match in how long? We're talking 12, 13 years since we've seen Goldberg in the ring. He's not Shawn Michaels. And he's not Shawn Michaels. And that's just the way it is for Goldberg. So I'm not excited about the Universal title picture on Raw. Next match was Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks. I am a huge Sasha Banks fan. I feel like she is the most popular female in the company, probably next to Nikki Bella, because for some reason Nikki Bella is overly popular. But Sasha's working this knee injury, and Nia Jax is the big bully, pretty much, and she's taking advantage of Sasha, and Sasha has too much pride to give up, so she keeps going at her, and Nia Jax is just squashing her out. And Sasha even made a comment towards Bayley that, she's not a quitter and she doesn't give up. Unlike some people, she's not a loser. I don't know if that means anything about like a possible heel turn for Sasha, but I feel like she can do a really great job as a heel. I don't think they need any more heels because if so, Bayley would be the only face because Alicia Fox is really not playing a face role right now. And Bayley just can't hold up the roster as the only face. Maybe when Emelina comes up, maybe she's a face, but the crowd still has to get behind her first. So I wouldn't bank on anybody turning heel or anybody else turning face at the moment. Now, the next match, Tornado Tag, Enzo and Cass versus Jinder Mahal and Rusev. And I'm not even looking at the camera right now because I don't get it. I don't know who's writing the skits for Enzo and Cass, but they are horrible. As over as they are, they put them in these stupid comedy segments they're not funny, and they're just wasting their talent, and they're wasting Rusev because Rusev is amazing, and they're just wasting Rusev, and Jinder Mahal is just there to take the fall. It's pointless, and I'm so sick of having matches between them four. It's so I don't know. I can't put it into words. I just despise it so much. I do. It makes me so upset. And that technically was the last match of Raw. I mean, they had a promo segment to close the show, which was Triple H calling out Seth Rollins. And he told Rollins that he brought him from obscurity pretty much and made him who he is. And then he became champion. And he started to fall and crumble and not be the person that he once was. So Rollins charges the ring. He gets blindsided by Samoa Joe, which is a big whoop because Samoa Joe's finally on the roster. And he's been working. He's been working hard. And he's been doing a great job down at NXT. And we all thought that he may have debuted at the Royal Rumble, but they saved it for the night after the Rumble, which is fine with me because I thought the ending for Raw was great. Something that we typically don't see. It's typically Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho recently, and it was something different. And he choked Rollins out in the middle of the ring, and Raw ended on a high note, which I can't say that's happened in a very, very long time. So in conclusion, I'd probably give Raw about a 5 out of 10. Just looking at the overall storylines and what's happened and how I feel about Monday Night Raw right now as a whole, I would give it a 5 out of 10. So let's go on ahead and let's get into this week's SmackDown. So with SmackDown being a 2 hour show, whereas Raw is a 3 hour show, I feel like it's easier to book a SmackDown card than there is a Raw card, which is probably why SmackDown creates the better wrestling product, because they don't have to fill time. They actually have to cut time in most cases to try and get everybody on. But the opening segment was Daniel Bryan, I believe, and Shane McMahon and AJ Styles announcing the Elimination Chamber match, because Styles wants a one-on-one match with John Cena. He does not want to be in the Elimination Chamber, and I don't blame him. That's just him being smart. So in the chamber is WWE Champion John Cena, AJ Styles, of course, Baron Corbin, Bray Wyatt, The Miz, and Dean Ambrose, who came in as they were announcing his name, and then they made a match with Ambrose and Styles for later on in the show. Once again, a promo where they set up a match for later on in the show. I just wish they would do something. SmackDown's usually really good about that, though. They'll announce a match, a week in advance for the next week. So I can't knock on them too much for doing that, and that's fine. So first promo of the night, and the only promo that I'm going to go over, because I think that was the only one that they had on SmackDown, it was John Cena. He came out and he pretty much praised AJ Styles, telling him that, he's one of the greatest of all time, and he respects AJ Styles, and I thought that was very classy of Cena. He's always been good in that role, doing those, he's good when he's doing intense promos, and he's good when he's doing serious promos. It's the comedy promos where I feel like he could do without, but he's really good at what he does. Like, he's the man for a reason. And he was interrupted by Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Wyatt and Orton are pretty much on fire right now. I think they're the best act on SmackDown, and maybe better than Owens and Jericho. Maybe. I mean, them two right now are like neck and neck. In my eyes, they're neck and neck. But they look really scary this week on SmackDown. Like, if I was standing on the other side of them, I'd be pretty scared if I saw them too. But a match was set up with Wyatt and Orton versus Cena and Harper, who came out as Orton and Wyatt were, trying to double up on Cena. So that created a tag team match that started right now. So not only did the opening segments set up the first match of the night, they also set up the last match of the night. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with Harper right now. I like Harper, and I'm glad that he even has a storyline. I'm not sure if they're going to double cross Orton or Orton's going to double cross them. I don't know where Eric Rowan is, but if they were a foursome, they'd be a serious force, even more than they are now. But the tag match was decent. I liked it a lot. Harper wouldn't hit Wyatt, though. He kind of just stood out on the apron, or actually next to the barricade at certain times, and would just stare at him. So Cena kind of went it alone for a little bit, but in the end, it was Orton who gave an RKO to John Cena and pinned the champion on TV like they always do. Orton gets the win, and Cena takes the loss. It's fine. I'm not going to complain, because I don't expect Cena to be champion when Randy Orton rolls into WrestleMania as the number one contender. But I do believe that Orton should be in the main event of WrestleMania, not Goldberg, not Brock Lesnar. No way. No way. I will leave early if that's the case. Next match was Carmella versus, I want to say maybe a local wrestler, Delilah Dawson is the name that I have here on my screen. I love Carmella. Carmella's been one of my favorites since NXT, and she's stuck with James Ellsworth, who is also local to me. and I've been around James Ellsworth as also. In the past, he had a promotion locally, and he may still have that promotion locally. And they used to run out of Annapolis, but I'm not sure where they run out of now. Adrenaline Championship Wrestling was the name. So when I started training for wrestling, I don't think I've ever told anybody that on YouTube, but when I started training for wrestling, he had already started, and I remember hearing his name a lot, but I'd never met him until about a year or so when I got into it. So I've never actually talked to him. I mean, I've been in the same room with him, and I've heard conversations between him and other people, but I've never met him. But I'm happy that he's made it, and he was able to make something out of it. But his character's gotten kind of stale. But who cares? He's making money. He's doing his thing. He's going from city to city. I can only wish him the best of luck. But Carmella gets the win by beating Delilah because James Ellsworth interferes and she makes the girl submit. I hope that Carmella gets a storyline soon. Maybe Tamina comes back and she'll feud with Tamina, because right now they have 3 women's feuds right now, which I think is amazing, is that all the women are at least doing something. Nobody's just sitting around, and you can't be mad at that. That's great. The third match of the night was Dolph Ziggler versus Kalisto, and Dolph is also one of my favorites. I'm glad that he's heel, and he's doing some good work as heel right now. I'm not sure where the Jerry Lawler thing was going, because they haven't talked about it at all on SmackDown. So I'm not sure where that's going to go. But he defeated Kalisto with the super kick, and he's getting really good with that super kick. It's looking really good lately. And he got the win, which I think is cool. Apollo Crews is probably going to be his next storyline, and Apollo can't beat Ziggler. I just don't think that you can give Dolph a loss to Apollo Crews at this point, because Apollo hasn't been on television and he hasn't done pretty much anything. So I think Ziggler needs to go over, but at the same time, it could hurt Apollo Crews to take another loss. So I guess they'll figure it out. It seems like it may happen at Elimination Chamber, since Dolph wasn't added into the match. Next match with a Divas tag team. Oh, sorry, they're not Divas. It was a women's tag team match. It was Naomi and Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. Before I go into this match, I want to say that I have an Amazon Echo, and every time they say Alexa on television, she starts to search for things, because you have to say, Alexa, what is this? What is that? And every time they say her name, she starts searching, and it's so annoying. But I forget it every week. But anyway, I'm glad that Naomi's back on TV, and we have ourselves a new #1 contender for a fresh feud that we haven't seen. I don't expect Naomi to win. I expect Bliss to go on to WrestleMania and possibly maybe face Nikki Bella, because Bella is probably the most over person on the SmackDown roster. I mean, that would make sense. And if they do surprise us with a Naomi win, hey, I'd be happy with that. Meanwhile, Becky Lynch and Mickie James are probably going to have some type of match at Elimination Chamber, but they didn't push it much on last week's show. I mean, Mickie has not won a match on TV yet, but she also has not had much in-ring action as I thought she would have either. So maybe they're keeping her cool for right now until she makes her debut at the Elimination Chamber, her pay-per-view debut, or pay-per-view debut. She's already wrestled many, many times. So, yeah. The match itself was great. I love Becky Lynch. I love her in-ring work. Naomi is overly athletic. Alexa is a perfect heel. She's so tiny, though, and Mickey's a veteran. And when Naomi got the hot tag, she was on fire, and the crowd was behind her, which is a good sign. If you can get the crowd behind you, even though you've been off TV for a few weeks, with something fresh, I love it. I think it's great. Next up was the American Alpha Open Challenge, and they haven't done anything in a couple weeks either. They weren't even on the Royal Rumble pre-show, at least. They just weren't on the show at all, which I think is weird because they're young and people like them and they're promising and they're not using them. They just beat the Wyatts a few weeks ago and beat them in a rematch too. Clean, fair and square. So they go out and do this open challenge. All the SmackDown tag teams come out. The Vaudevillains, who haven't gotten a win in ever. The Ascension, they haven't gotten a win in ever. The Usos, who should be on TV because they're freaking amazing. That should be the feud. It should be the Usos versus American Alpha. Then you have Breezango, who have the potential to be something huge, but for some reason they think they're comedy acts and they won't push them. And then you have my main man, Heath Slater, and Rhino. Slater's still over. He's still over. The crowd still loves him, but they cooled him off. It's as if they took all of the attention from Heath Slater and put it on to James Ellsworth. And for some reason, I don't understand why they would do something like that. I mean, Slater's a veteran. He can get it done in the ring, and people like him. And people have always liked Heath Slater. He's not like a sympathy wrestler. People genuinely like Heath Slater. And for some reason, they won't push him to his limits because I feel like he could do so much more. But they announced that they're going to do a tag team turmoil at Elimination Chamber with all of the tag teams. So we'll get to see all 6 teams on pay-per-view, which I think is cool. Getting everybody on the show, trying to make it feel like a big deal when they took 6 of the main event level guys and put them into an Elimination Chamber match. Just sounds smart to me, but I don't expect American Alpha to lose their tag team championships without even having a real feud storyline or title defense. And SmackDown's main event was AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose, which is a match that we've seen many times before, so nothing special there. I mean, The Miz was on commentary and Baron Corbin was on commentary. I mean, Miz will pretty much just eat anybody alive on commentary. He's just so good at talking on the mic. I love hearing him talk, and then Maurice is just hot. So anytime you have The Miz somewhere and Maurice is there, just makes it even better. So in the end, Miz punches Baron Corbin, and Baron Corbin attacks The Miz. Ambrose does a dive onto Corbin. Corbin flies over the table. He rolls back into the ring, runs right into Styles, gets a Styles clash, and Styles gets the win, which makes sense because he lost the title. So let's keep him strong. I, for one, believe in Styles, being kept strong. I don't think he should ever go down to a mid-card level because he's just too good for it. He really is. And him not being champion is pretty much a travesty. Like, for him not to go into WrestleMania as the champion, why couldn't it be AJ Styles versus Randy Orton? I feel like that would be a spectacular, main event level match. But if it's Bray Wyatt, then hey, I'm not mad about that either. But I feel like AJ Styles deserves to main event a WrestleMania. Maybe not his second WrestleMania, but his time will come. His time will come. So in conclusion, I feel like SmackDown was a decent show. I would give SmackDown probably like a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah. I mean, I like SmackDown a lot. And if I do these on a weekly basis, you're probably going to think that I'm biased towards SmackDown, which I probably am because it's a 2-hour show and they fit in only what they need to fit in. There's no filler on SmackDown, and I like that. I think that's really cool. So anyway, those are my reactions to Raw and SmackDown. This is NT Certified. I appreciate you guys. My mouth is dry now. I need some water. Please like, subscribe, comment, follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter, catch me on YouTube Live. I'm all over the place, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace out.